Dear ladies and gentlemen, we would like to share thoughts and observations made as well as experience gained over the year of our research into environments of people at risk of marginalization and exclusion. This presentation contributes to the discussion on ethical dilemmas and methodological problems in qualitative research which communicates and risk of exclusion and social marginalization. Our focus is on people with intellectual disabilities on the one hand and female sex workers on the other. Based on our research findings, we can suggest good practice and recommendations for undertaking research within these types of communications. Research involving two people with intellectual disabilities on the one hand and sex workers on the other requires flexibility in approach and adaptation of the research strategy to the needs and skills of the study participants. Thus, the researcher should exhibit a reflective attitude, empathy, and a willingness to conclusively develop his or her methodological toolkits. Thanks to such an attitude, it is possible to conduct research with reliability and integrity. The findings are based on our personal experience and the available studies among both people with intellectual disabilities and female sex workers. Our analysis draws on data from a search query of manuscripts relevant to research ethics and methodology from autoethnography and case studies among people with intellectual disabilities and female sex workers. It has been possible to identify several overarching problems and dilemmas typical for the investigated populations and the consequent ontological, epistemological, and methodological implications. The very selection of adequate notices and their operationalization poses a challenge upon the conceptualization of the research scope with the participation of groups and environments that experience marginalization and stigmatization. It is crucial for the researcher to be mindful of which concepts best to avoid, as they may be perceived as unacceptable by the participants. Research is further aggravated if it concerns groups or populations that tend to alienate themselves from the outside world, that are hard to penetrate for fear of others and anxiety arising from likely past negative experience. Mapping distinct perspectives may be difficult for both the researcher and participants who have completely different life experience. The researcher is bound to face situations in which it is difficult to make clear choice about how to proceed in order not to hurt the participants. Lastly, once the researcher opts to study marginalized groups or stigmatized populations, utmost caution must be taken to ensure data confidentiality. On the one hand, the investigator strives to streamline research in an effort to obtain optimal results. On the other hand, the investigator constantly faces numerous adversities. This is why the researcher should strike a balance between data acquisition and intrusion into the private lives of study participants. There may only be one adequate justification for the actions undertaken by the researchers as part of his or her research, serving humanity in his or her personal role of capacity as a researcher and the broadly constructed stewardship of scientists in general toward humanity. Given the above, difficulties, taking an individual approach to research participants seems of utmost importance. Good practice involves both theoretical and methodological diligence as well as integrity and ethical awareness training. Furthermore, research should be shaped by a willingness to collaborate and guided by the model of social research developed through shared experience. This should allow to develop a partnership conducive to mapping district perspectives and building the trust needed in the process of research implementation. Thank you for your attention.